Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out all of my newest figures in my collection. I've got tons of Jurassic World Dominion and other figures, plus I've got some unopened ones that we're gonna check out today. So let's get started. First up is the Jurassic World Dominion Rowdy Roars Dilophosaurus. Let's check it out. Here is the full figure. This is a dark green Dilophosaurus. It's got the frills just like in the movie. I noticed though that one of the sides is not painted. I think that might be a defect in this figure. Well, that's pretty weird to get an uncolored side, but nevertheless, let's still check out the rest of the figure. It's a pretty small figure. You can see that the legs are like dangly. They're very loose, as well as the tail and the frills, because when you press this button at the top of its head, it actually moves around. And let's check out that roaming action. It's interesting, so it walks around a little bit. Doesn't go too far. All you have to do is touch its chin right there, and it'll start walking around. Let's check out this new figure way back here. This is another Jurassic World Dominion figure. This is the Ankylosaurus. Let's check it out. So this figure is pretty different looking than all the other figures that I have. It's got this really long neck, stands on 4 legs, and it's got the clay red body and the brown top. Plus, this dinosaur has tons of spikes on its body, more so than a lot of the other figures that I have. It's got the row on the top, it's got some on its side. It's really interesting. This figure does not require any batteries. Instead, it just has the tail that you use to control the head, which I really like. This is a really cool way to control dinosaur figures. Next up, we've got a Jurassic World Seats Microrum. Let's check it out. So this is a medium-sized figure. It's a lot smaller than most of the T-Rexes I have, but it's around the same size as the Tarbosaurus and other figures like that. It's got the orange body with the blue detailing on top. This one also has tons of spikes on it as well, but they're smaller spikes. And it's got some green eyes, tons of teeth of different sizes too, which is pretty cool. This figure does not require any batteries as well. It is controlled just by your hand. By moving the tail, you can twist the head back and forth. Plus, there is the button on the tail to open and close the jaw. And next up of the brand new figures to unbox, this is a Jurassic World Dominion minis set. Let's see what's inside. So in this packaging, it actually has doors that open up to reveal the figures inside. So let's see what's in here. First up is a little itty bitty herbivore, it looks like. I'm not sure what species this is. That's pretty cool. Right next to it, this is a green and brown Triceratops. It's pretty cool. Next one on the bottom, we've got a Baryonyx with a gray and dark blue coloring. Over here's another door. I believe that this one contains a human. All right, so here is Claire, a minifigure. It's fairly detailed for how small it is. You can actually see, can't see it on camera, but she does have a face. They colored that in, so that's pretty cool. And last of all, we've got that Carnotaurus at the top. This is the largest figure in this minis pack. As you can see, it's got the iconic clay red coloring with the black detailing on top and the white underbelly. And even on a figure as small as this, you can still open and close the jaw. Very cool. Next up, this is my newest addition to the Super Colossal collection that I have. This is an Atrociraptor. It's got the iconic gray body with the brown and light brown detailing on the top and sides. And it's pretty adjustable. You can move the wrists, the arms, move the legs and the tail as well. And you can even twist the neck too. Plus, it's got a huge set of teeth. And like many super colossal figures, this dinosaur can swallow minifigures, such as this miniature Ankylosaurus. You can put it right in the mouth, eats it up, goes all the way down its throat to its stomach, where you can open it up and retrieve the dinosaur again. That's pretty cool. And on the other side is another super colossal figure that I added recently. This is a Giganotosaurus, and it's probably one of the most unique super colossal figures that I have. Check out that spine all along its back and on top of its head up here. And the part that I like the most are its teeth. This has some of the most unique looking teeth out of the super colossal figures that I have. They're really cool, and they fit together really well like that. It's really cool. Just like the Atrociraptor, this figure is quite adjustable. You can move the wrists, the arms, the legs, the tail. You can open and close the jaw. And of course, this dinosaur can eat miniature dinosaurs as well. Here is a miniature Velociraptor. Let's have the Giganotosaurus eat it up. And then you check out the stomach compartment. And there it is. That's pretty cool. The stomach can hold, I don't know, maybe like 20 miniature dinosaurs or so. Next up, way in the back here, we've got one of my favorite collector's items. This is the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. This T-Rex has some of the most detailed painting out of most of the Jurassic World T-Rexes that I have. Look at all that texture and all the shading, which I think is really cool. Plus, this T-Rex has the most points of articulation out of all the Jurassic World figures that I have. You can move its knees, its ankles, its arms, and its elbows. You can adjust the neck back and forth and up and down. You can see that it has a marbled eye, so it's not just a painted eye like many of the other figures. And in this figure, the mouth is pretty realistic too. It's got a rubberized tongue, and the flaps on the side of its mouth are actually rubberized as well, so they feel and look a lot more realistic. Right up top here, we've got another Jurassic World Dominion Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure has a much darker body. It's a dark brown on the side with the black on top, and then the lighter underbelly, and it's got a huge head, and it comes with sound effects, as you can hear. Now, the sound effects are a little broken on this specific figure. I'm not sure why, it just came that way, but it's still a pretty cool figure. And like many of the other Jurassic World Dominion figures that I've shown you today, you can use the tail to control the front of the head. This, I believe, is a Rajasaurus. It's a smaller figure. It's got a dark brown body with the gray-blue detailing on top, and those interesting spines right on its neck too. Plus, a single horn on the top of its head, much like a Ceratosaurus. This figure has a chomping action that when you press down on its body, it chomps its mouth. Next up, we've got another Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic World. This one has a dark green body. This one is really cool because I don't have another T-Rex figure with this coloring. And it is quite adjustable, just like many of the other typical Jurassic World figures. Move the legs, the arms, and you can move the neck back and forth too. And it's got the button on the top of its head for roaring and chomping. This is a Pteranodon from, I believe, the Amber Collection. It's got rubberized wings, so they're really flexible, and they feel like real wings. The rest of the body is made of hard plastic, and it's got some pretty cool coloring and detailing all over its body. This is another Tyrannosaurus Rex, but as you can see, it comes with something special. This T-Rex comes with a cage for its face, and when you use the action button on its back, it can actually break free from. And it comes with some pretty cool sound effects too. Plus, on this figure, you can twist the tail back and forth for some stomping action. Here's another gigantic figure. This is a Mosasaurus. This Jurassic Park figure has a darker blue coloring compared to the older Mosasaurus figurine, and it's got these white specks all over its body too. Plus, you can open and close the jaw, you can adjust all the fins, and on this figure you can actually move the tail around too. This is a basic Jurassic World Pteranodon figure. It's a light green color, it's got some yellow detailing on the wings and on the top of its head too. This is an Tyrannosaurus, which I believe is an herbivore. Plus, it comes with a few actions as well when you slide this lever back and forth. So it's got tons of different sound effects, and it moves its head up and down every time you move that slide. Next up, this, I believe, is an Pseudoceratops. It's got those huge horns, much like a bull, kind of, and it's got the dark blue body with the red detailing on top, and some green legs as well. Plus, this figure has two action buttons. The first is for roaring, and the second is for swinging the tail back and forth. Over here is a smaller figure. This is a Monolophosaurus. You can open and close its jaw, you can adjust its neck, and move its arms and its legs too. And it's got some pretty cool coloring too. It's got the tan with the gray detailing on the top. This is an Allosaurus with dark green coloring all over its body, a little bit of a lighter color on its neck, and the white and red detailing on the top of its neck right next to those spikes. This figure also has the action slide lever for different roaring and different sound effects. Right over here, we've got, I believe, a Sinoceratops. This has a light green body with some tan detailing on the top and on the face, and even a little bit of orange on the top as well. It's got some pretty unique horns too, and it's got an action button for roaring. This is an Albertosaurus figure. This has a little bit darker green coloring on its body with orange detailing on its side all the way up to its face. And it's got a pretty interesting texture all over its body. You can see all these bumps. It looks like armor kind of. Plus, this figure's tail actually controls the head and the jaw too. Over here, we've got the mighty Quetzalcoatlus. This is a huge winged dinosaur that I'm sure you recognize from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. And it's got some pretty cool coloring on its face too. It's got the light blue right on the top of that horn thing right there. And it's got some orange on its nose and right next to its eyes. This is an Irritator. This dinosaur has some pretty cool coloring. It's got some light blue right next to some dark blue, and the rest of its body is dark brown and tan on the belly. You can hear tons of sound effects coming from it, which are activated by wiggling the tail around. Next up, we've got another herbivore. I'm actually not sure what species this is, so let me know in the comments below if you recognize this species. It's pretty similar to a Triceratops. It's got tons more horns though, and it's got a huge horn right in the front too. And this figure has a tail that controls its head too, which is pretty awesome. Here is the Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. It's very similar to the Dilophosaurus that we unboxed at the beginning of this video. This Atrociraptor has the bright orange body with the brown on top, and just like the Dilophosaurus, it's got a button on the top of its head for roaring. And when you touch its chin, it actually walks around. Oh, kind of hard to hold. Next up, we've got, I believe, the Majungasaurus. This has some super bright coloring with blue, yellow, and a dark green, and a lot of yellow on its belly as well. And like many of the other Jurassic World Dominion figures, you can use the tail to control the head. Right over here, we've got a miniature Indominus Rex. This figure has a button on its nose that you can press for roaring sound effects. You can use the tail to open its mouth, and when you touch the tongue, it actually clamps its jaw shut. That's pretty cool. It's as if it's eating my finger. Ah! Next up, we've got the Jurassic World Dominion Yangchuanosaurus. This is a very recent figure. It's got the soft green coloring on the sides, a yellow underbelly, and the brown detailing along the top. But most importantly, it's got those orange frills right on the top of its head. And this figure, of course, can be controlled by its tail. You can move its head around by adjusting the tail, and it's actually got a button to open and close its jaw, too. Next up, we've got the mighty Pentaceratops. This is a huge figure. It's got the tan sides with the gray detailing on the top, and it's got tons of horns on the front of its face too. Plus, this figure actually comes with a face cage, just like the T-Rex that we saw earlier, that it can use to break free. So let's go ahead and put it on and test it out. There we are. It's a little confusing to get on, but once it's on, it looks pretty cool. And here comes the break free function. In just one swipe, it is broken free. That's pretty cool. And there is a second action button to control a side-to-side swinging too. This is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx. It's got some pretty detailed coloring, like many of the Hammond Collection figures, and tons of points of articulation as well. You can move its legs all around, its arms, and its head as well. And I think it's a lot more textured than many of the other baryonyx figures that I have. You can see all those bumps along its body. You can even see its ribs right there too. This is a Kentrosaurus. It's got tons of spikes all over its body, and it's got an action lever to actually use those spikes on its shoulder too. Those spikes are huge. That is really cool. And it's got the dark brown on top and the tan on the bottom with a lighter tan right along its chest and neck too. Next up is the Therizinosaurus. This figure is pretty big, almost as big as many of the T-Rex figures that I have. Plus, it has the tail that you can use to control the front and a button on its tail to control chomping. And it's got some massive claws on its hand too, just like in the Jurassic World movie. Here is a miniature Carnotaurus. It's got the iconic clay red coloring with the brown on top, and it's got a few actions too. Button on the top of its head, closes its eyes, and it's got some sound effects too. And there is a button on its tail for chomping. Here is a smaller Carnotaurus figure, but this one is from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie because it has the broken horn on the top of its head, just like in the movie. This Carnotaurus has a dark green coloring with orange detailing on top and is fairly adjustable too. You can move the legs, the neck, open the jaw, and twist the tail too. Here is another Monolophosaurus. This has a bright green body with darker green detailing on the top. And this Monolophosaurus has an action. When you move the tail, it chomps its jaw shut. Next up is a Jurassic World Dominion Dimetrodon with extreme battle damage on the side. Check that out. You can just turn it on and turn it off with the click of a button. Plus, you can open and close its jaw, twist its neck side to side, and move its legs too. Here are a couple Velociraptor figures. This first one is orange and brown, and it's got a slashing action with its claw, spring-loaded so it swings back and forth. And the second Velociraptor figure is white and dark blue, and this is actually an extreme damage version, so you can click it on and off. This figure is a Tapehara. This is a smaller flying dinosaur, but it's got some pretty unique coloring all over its body. You can see it's got the bright red along its face, it's got some blue and orange, and it has a unique pattern of coloring on its wings too. Plus, it's got an action button right on its body that you can use to flap its wings. This is a Miragaia. This is a pretty unique looking herbivore. It's got those huge spikes on the side of its body, as well as the spikes all along its back and on its tail as well. And it's got a unusually long neck as well. Next up is the Cosmoceratops. Check out that unique pattern of horns all along the top. And of course, it's got the huge horns right next to its eyes too. And this figure has an action that when you pull down the tail, it roars too. All right, we've got a few more Atrociraptors in here. This first one is a tan color, and it's in this sneaking or stalking pose. And this other Atrociraptor is in a standing pose and has the typical gray body with the brown detailing. And on both of them, you can open their jaws too. Next up, we've got another Velociraptor, but this one's a bit different. This one has many more points of articulation than the typical Velociraptor figure has, and it's got some pretty realistic coloring too. It's got the dark green on the sides, the brown on the top, and the light underbelly. That's pretty cool. Pretty realistic, I would say. This is a baby T-Rex. It's a pretty small figure, easily fits into the palm of my hand, and it is bright green in color. Plus, this figure has an action that when you move down the tail, it chomps its jaw shut. Just a few dinosaurs left. This next figure is a Tanystropheus. This dinosaur lives in the water and has a super long neck that you can control by moving the tail up and down. Look at that itty bitty head. This is a Shringosaurus figure. It's another unique looking dinosaur. It's got the super long neck. It's got those two horns on the top of its head and a yellow body with the brown detailing on the top. Next up is what I believe is a Styracosaurus. It's got tons of horns along the front and some unique coloring right there and on the other side too. And the rest of its body is a soft green color with the brown detailing right along the top. Plus, you can move this figure's head up and down by moving the tail. And last of all, we've got the good old Chialingosaurus with the light blue body and the orange right under its belly and its front arms. It's got the little spikes right on its shoulders and the spikes at the end of its tail too. Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today I am repainting 5 Jurassic World dinosaur figures. I've got a T-Rex, an Atrociraptor, a Pyroraptor, and more, so let's get started. The first dinosaur figure is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. As you can see, the original painting was brown with some gray detailing on top, so let's see if we can spice that up a little bit. After I got it all primed up, I started with a soft tan color for the underbelly, which is typical for what you'd see in many T-Rex figures. Next, and my favorite part of this T-Rex, I painted the upper body, the head, and legs a jungle green color. I'm super excited for this one as I don't have that many green T-Rexes yet. I think I only have one other. I wanted to make this dinosaur figure look pretty realistic with a camouflage and natural look, so I took a lot of care to blend in the green into the tan for this one. Then, to bring some texture to all those green parts, I dry brushed a soft brown color to bring out all the texture and wrinkles of its skin. For the mouth, I chose a dark pink color. Looks like I forgot to prime some of the mouth. Whoops. Then for the darkest color of this T-Rex, I chose a dark brown to go from the top of the head all the way down to the tail. This will be the last major color for this dinosaur. I also used the brown to paint down the side of the body in random patterns and stripes to make it look a little more realistic, as well as on the front of the legs, which I really thought brought the whole body together. And of course, I brought some of that dark brown onto the face too, especially around the eyes to give it more shading and detail. Then I took a brush and dry brushed a light gray color onto all the brown areas to give that a little bit more texture. I think this made it look a whole lot more realistic and looks a lot better than just the flat brown color. Then for the eyes, after I added another white base, I painted the eyes a yellow color with narrow pupils. I wanted this T-Rex to look intimidating, but not too scary. And for the final touches, I painted the teeth sparkling white and the nails a dark, dark black. And there we are, it is all done. I'm really happy with this T-Rex, and like I said, I'm super excited to add another green T-Rex to my collection. Next up is the Atrociraptor figure from the new Jurassic World Dominion series. This figure has the iconic coloring already. I'm sure you recognize it from the movie, but I wanted to replace it with something much more bright and eye-grabbing. So to start it off, I colored the entire dinosaur in a bright yellow color. This will be the base coat for my design. For the next layer, I chose an orange color to paint along the top of the yellow from the head all the way to the tip of the tail. And also on parts of the legs and the arms. It's a pretty similar color to the yellow because I want it to smoothly fade from the yellow into the orange and to the next color that I'll be adding on. Next, for the coolest and most dramatic color of this dinosaur, I added brown to the very top of the body and around the eyes, and I added random stripes going down the sides of the body. It's a pretty dramatic look, and I'm really happy with how it came out. Now that all the big colors are done, I took a lighter brown color and dry brushed all along the lighter parts of its body. Look at how it brings out the texture of its skin all over. For the final touches, I painted all the claws black and the eyes blood red. These dinosaurs are pretty scary in the movie, and I think red eyes are the perfect color to reflect that. That, the Atrociraptor, is all done. Look at how bright it is. This is one of my favorite dinosaurs that I've painted, and I really think it'll pop out from all the other dinosaur figures on my display shelf. Next up is the Jurassic World Dominion Triceratops. The original had a green and brown color combo, and I wanted to switch that up with something entirely different. First, to start off, I painted the belly and the entire underside a light pink color. What color do you think I'm going to combo this color with? If you guessed gray, then you are correct. I had seen a Stegosaurus figure painted a similar way and wanted to try it out for myself. I used this gray to color the entire rest of the body. I'll be doing a few more colors throughout though. Next, to add some more variance to its body, I used a darker gray color all along the top of the body and along the top of the bony frill behind its head. I'm really happy with how this frill is turning out. I chose a light tan color for the horns and the mouth. This is pretty similar to the original. Since these are bony parts of the body, I just think that this color works great with it. I chose a white color for all the toes on its feet and a green color for its tiny little eyes. This is a really tricky part because they're so small, but I think it turned out pretty good. And just a tiny little black dot for the pupils in its eyes. Now for the best part, I chose a bright red color for the bony parts sticking out of its frill because I wanted these to stand out and be the highlight of this Triceratops. I wanted to bring a little bit more red to the body as well, so I also dry brushed that same red color onto the back of the Triceratops. It's pretty subtle though, it's only just enough to make it look a tiny bit more red. And that's it! This one turned out super cool. I really like how the light pink, the gray, and the red all fit together. This is the Sarcophagus figure from Jurassic World. It's not too bad with the painting originally, but let's see if we can spice it up a bit. I started by painting the belly a lime green color. Many dinosaurs, as I'm sure you've noticed already, have lighter underbellies. Next, I painted a camo green color to the sides. This will help it blend into a swamp or jungle setting. Then for the very top of the dinosaur, I chose a dark brown color. And this color went all the way to the tip of the tail. I bet if this dinosaur was in the water, other dinosaurs probably wouldn't even see it because it looks like a log in the water. I also added some brown detailing around the eyes to help bring out the color of the eyes when I paint those in. Next, I painted the mouth a soft pink color. Then I added a darker pink wash to bring out the texture of the tongue and the other parts of the mouth. I'm a really big fan of dry brushing or adding a wash to a figure because this really brings out a lot of the texture. Then I chose a dark gray wash to add to the top of the dinosaur to bring out more texture there, although it is pretty subtle. I think it makes it look just a little bit more gritty, a little more dirtier, like it would in real life. Then I added a brown wash to the belly and underside of the dinosaur to bring out the texture of that area and to make it look a bit more gritty too. Then I carefully painted all of the claws black. These weren't colored differently in the original version, but I wanted to bring more attention to them. And now for the super tricky part, painting the teeth. I chose a bright white color and I had to do multiple layers. I couldn't even count how many teeth there were on this sarcophagus. And finally, I painted the eyes a bright white color to pop out from that brown background, and I chose to give this dinosaur narrow pupils as well. And there it is all finished. This is a super camouflaged dinosaur, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Pyroraptor figure. As you can see, originally it had some pretty basic coloring, nothing too special, it's just mostly red and black. So to start with my own design for this figure, I painted the feet, the hands, and some parts of the face a light gray color. These are parts of the dinosaur that didn't have that many feathers on them, so it's more of just a skin coloring. Now for the best part, I chose a bright fiery red for the bulk of the feathered body. In my opinion, this dinosaur is not meant to blend into its surroundings, so I really want to make it pop. I painted this red all over the torso, the tail, the arms, and a little patch on the leg right there where you can see the feathers. For the remaining parts of the body, I wanted to try a dark blue color to contrast that fiery red. I used this blue on the legs, on the belly, a little bit of the underside of the tail, and on the top of the head. Now, one thing I especially wanted to do was bring out the texture of those feathers all over its body. So I used a dark brown gray wash and I put that all over the red to really accentuate those feather designs. Then I blended the gray color of the skin into the other colors and also dry brushed the gray into the blue parts to bring out the texture of those areas. Those blue parts were pretty dark before, but with that gray on top, you can really see the texture. Next, I dry brushed a subtle yellow color near the neck to add some variance in the color, just enough to make it look different from the rest of the body. And for those huge feathers on the top of the head, I chose orange as a complementary color to the rest of the red, and I added a little bit of yellow at the top to bring out more texture of that big feather on the top. To match that feather on the top of its head, I used yellow for the eyes. And once again, I painted narrow black pupils to give it a more menacing look. For the final touch, I painted all the claws dark black for contrast and the teeth a bright white, since those weren't actually colored at all in the original version. And we're done! This is a pretty bright and wild looking dinosaur and totally different from the other ones I've painted so far, and quite a bit different from the original version. Welcome back. Today, we're checking out my entire display shelves of dinosaur figures from Jurassic World and more. Let's get started with this first shelf. Starting at the very top here, I've got this old Jurassic Park statue figure. I've also got this super colossal Carnotaurus Toro. I've got a Jurassic Park Jeep. This one came out pretty recently. I've also got a T-Rex skull from Jurassic World back there. And I've also got a Mosasaurus figure right at the very top. This is one of the big figures. And one of my favorite things about this middle shelf is this sign, just like from Jurassic Park. I think it looks really cool. We move down a shelf, can see that I've got a lot of these smaller figures from Jurassic World. Some of these are Camp Cretaceous, some of them are Dominion, so I've got a whole mixture in here, but they're all Jurassic World. Over here on the right, I've got all my Monolophosaurus figures of all different colors. I've got some super bright ones, I've got some darker ones in the back. Right next to it are the Rajasaurus figures. I think I have 3 on the display shelf right now. They're different colors. I've got a green one, I've got a light blue, and then I've got a dark green one way in the back there. Also hiding in the back there, I believe, is a Moros Intrepidus that you can recognize from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. Next up, I've got 3 Dimetrodons on display, all different colors. Got a light blue, I've got a bright green one. This is actually the Battle Damage edition that you can see on the side. And I've also got a darker brown-green one in the back too. I believe this one is also from the Dominion series. And here on the left side, I've got a bunch of miniature Dilophosaurus figures of all different colors again. Got a soft green one right here. Here's a bright purple. This one's like a dark brown-green color. I've also got a gray one right there as well. So I've got quite a few different types. And moving down a level, I've got all my Jurassic World T-Rex figures. Out of all the dinosaurs, I probably have the most T-Rexes. We've got this one that is the tearing T-Rex. We've got the Jurassic World Dominion figure right here in the back. Next, we have this bright green T-Rex. That's one of my favorites. I really like the coloring on this one. Right next to it is a battle damage T-Rex. You can see that there's some damage on its side and even on its face right there. Oh, and also a huge gash right on its chin too. Right behind it is a T-Rex of the same color, but a little bit bigger, and you can actually use its tail to control its jaw. Right next to it is one of my favorite figures of them all. This is the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I really like it because of the detail with the coloring and the shading. It's so much more textured than a lot of the T-Rex figures. I mean, just compare the coloring and texturing of this figure, the Hammond Collection, to this one. This one has a lot more just like simple coloring and shading. It's still really cool, but the Hammond Collection is a lot more detailed. Right next to that, I've got a smaller T-Rex. This one is a brown-gray color. It has the button on the top of its head for the chomping and roaring. And right next to that one, I've actually got a larger T-Rex. This one comes with a face cage. It's not on it right now, obviously, but you can use the button on its back to break free from the cage. Right behind that one, kind of hidden, is a camouflage T-Rex. I don't even have enough space for all the T-Rex figures that I have, but this T-Rex has some awesome coloring as well. Look at that green, brown, and black. That one would blend into the jungle super well. Let's keep moving down a level. Next up, we've got my Scorpius Rex figures. We first got this one with 2 action buttons. One controls the arms and the other controls the jaw. And squished way in the back here, I've got another Scorpius Rex figure, but this is the basic edition. So you can move the arms, the legs, and the tail on this figure, but there's no action buttons and the mouth doesn't open and close. Right next to it, we've got the Endoraptor. This figure is super adjustable. It's got some red on its eyes. It's got the gold line right down its side. I've also got the basic figure of that as well. So the mouth doesn't open and close on this one. Still has the same cool coloring, and you can move the arms and the legs. And moving down the line, we've got the Majingasaurus right next to it. It's got a dark green color with yellow and blue. Right behind it is the Concavinator, with its iconic spine right on its back. I've also got the Seats Micurarum, I believe it's called. Look at these interesting big teeth on its bottom jaw that fit in right onto its top jaw, just like that. I've always liked that. Right behind that, I believe, is a Megaraptor. It's kind of hard to see. It's got a bright red body with the gray. This is the Rajasaurus with the horn on the top of its head and the spines right along the back of its neck. I've also got a Tarbosaurus figure. There's the Therizinosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. And on the left side over here, I've got an Irritator from Jurassic World. I've also got a couple Cryolophosauruses. In the back here is a Yang Chuanosaurus. It's bright green with the brown on the top and the red frills right on the top of its head. And at the very end here, I've got a few Carcharodontosaurus figures. This one, I believe, came with the face cage. that you can press the button on its back. Let's see if I can reach it here. To break its head free. All right, let's move down to the final level of this first shelf. I've got the Jurassic World Dominion Super Colossal T-Rex. It's got the dark brown color with the black on top and the stomach compartment like all the other ones so you can feed it small dinosaurs. I've also got the Super Colossal Velociraptor that was released quite a while ago, I believe. This one looks really cool. And I've actually got another Carnotaurus Toro at the bottom as well. And that is it for the first shelf in the middle. Let's move on to this shelf to the right. Let's check out all these other Jurassic World figures. First, right at the top here, I've got another Super Colossal T-Rex. This figure is the orange and tan one. And of course, it has the stomach compartment, just like all the Super Colossal figures. Right beside it, we've got a Dr. Alan Grant figure holding a Dimetrodon skull, I believe. Also got a Velociraptor skull right here and a Jurassic Park little setup right here too, which is pretty cool. Moving down a level, we've got some herbivore figures from Jurassic World and then some more carnivore figures as well. Most of these are Velociraptors, but we'll get to that. Over here on this side, I've got a variety of herbivores. Like we've got the baby Ankylosaurus figure, we've got a baby Brachiosaurus right there in the back. Over here, I believe that's a Stygimoloch figure, and this might be a baby Stygimoloch figure, I think. There's also a Minmi figure that is dark red, and right behind it, I think a Pachycephalosaurus figure. And then next up, I've got a ton of Velociraptor figures. These ones on the very right here are the spring-loaded Velociraptors that can actually jump up into the air. So you can actually press down on their legs and then release it and they'll spring up into the air, and they're all built that same way. And then all these Velociraptor figures come from various sets. I've got a bright red Velociraptor here. This Velociraptor is actually an extreme battle damage one that I got recently. You can check out the battle damage right there on the side. And they come in a variety of colors. I've got green, I've got gray, I've got brown, and I've even got a bright red one right here. Oh, you know what? This one is actually a spring-loaded Velociraptor as well. Let's move down a level to some more gigantic dinosaur figures. I've got all my Indominus Rex figurines right here from Jurassic World. This first one is the battle damaged Indominus Rex that you can turn on and off. Comes with sound effects. This one is actually a custom colored Indominus Rex, so you won't see one with this coloring around anywhere else. This Indominus Rex comes with the jaw chomping action on its tail and also a arm slashing action with a button on its back. And I've also got this little Indominus Rex figure that has a couple actions as well. You can press the button on top of its head for sound effects, and then you can open and close the jaw with the tail and by pressing down on its tongue. Right next to that are my Giganotosaurus figures. I don't have that many yet. This big one in the back here is the Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus. So it swings its torso back and forth. It can also chomp on little dinosaur figures. This little one is the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus. So a lot smaller and not as detailed, but it does come with sound effects. And right next to that are all my Carnotaurus figures. I've got one from the Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's got the unique coloring and the broken horn. I've got 3 large-size Carnotaurus figures. All of them have the action buttons, and they're all colored differently. And then, of course, I've got a little Carnotaurus figure that can blink its eyes and also chomp using a button on its tail. All right, that's all the figures on this shelf. Let's move down one more level. I've got a ton of herbivores here, and then more carnivores right over here. Let's start with the herbivores. So most of these figures are species related to the Triceratops, which I've already got 1, 2, 3 on display over here. I've also got the Pseudoceratops in the back over here, and I've also got a Sinoceratops figure right up front here, and another figure that I can't remember the species of right now. Moving on to the left, I've got the Pentaceratops figure with the head cage that you can break free from, and also an Ouranosaurus figure right in the back here. This figure right next to it, I believe is an Amargospinus. I can't remember though. Let me know down in the comments if you know which dinosaur this is. And then finally, I've got some more carnivore figures. I've got the Suchomimus figures right here. One of them is a bright yellow, the other is a dark blue with yellow. I've also got the basic edition Velociraptor blue and a few basic Dilophosaurus figures here. Got the soft green with red Dilophosaurus, and then a bright red and yellow Dilophosaurus. Over here in the back, actually, I forgot to mention, this is an Ankylosaurus. This one I got pretty recently, and this basic figure, I can't remember what species it is, but let me know down in the comments if you recognize this species. And hidden way in the back over here, I've got a little Atrociraptor figure and also a Dilophosaurus figure as well. All right, that's it for this level. Let's move down back to some more super colossal figures. This one is a blue-gray color with those blood red eyes, which I really like. I think this one might have been custom colored, but I can't quite remember. I'm pretty sure it is. Right next to that, I've got a big Brachiosaurus figure. You can open and close its mouth. You can adjust the neck and the legs as well. And right next to that, I've got another super colossal T-Rex. This one has some pretty awesome coloring as well. It's got the camouflaged green, it's got some battle damage on its side, and it's got some awesome orange and gold eyes. That's it for this shelf. Now let's move on to the next shelf to the right. Way at the very top, I've got an Apatosaurus gigantic figure. There's also a huge King Kong figurine. I've also got an old Jurassic Park Jeep and an RC Velociraptor Blue. Moving down a level, I've got a ton more Jurassic World herbivore figures. Got more Brachiosauruses, I've got the battle damage Triceratops, another Min-Me, got tons more in the back over there. I've got a Miragaia with the huge horns on its shoulder. I've got this figure, I can't remember what species this is, but this is a pretty funky looking dinosaur. I've got more Pachycephalosaurus figures in the back, a Parasaurolophus right there in the middle. I've got a Protoceratops figure right there and a Sauropelta that is the clay red and brown color too. Moving on from there, we've got many of my oldest Jurassic World figurines next. We've got the hybrid Indominus Rex figure with the gold on its hands and on its belly, and the red and the spikes that come out of its back. We've also got this super old Indominus Rex figure. It's got the rubber head and neck and the plastic torso and tail. It's really interesting that they used to create these dinosaurs out of rubber. They feel so weird and they don't last as long, as you'll notice. I've also got a few smaller Indominus Rex figures. This one is tiny. It's got a little bit of battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to control the head. And on this figure, a slightly larger Indominus Rex, it's got bigger battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail to chomp the jaw too. Right beside that, I've got a variety of T-Rex figures from the old Jurassic World line. Got this light tan T-Rex, got the button on its back to activate the jaw. Right beside that is a larger chomping T-Rex. This one also has a rubberized neck. And beside that, I've got some smaller T-Rex figures. This one on the right is a custom colored T-Rex, but it's the exact same as this tan one right over here. And I've also got this hybrid T-Rex right here. I'm not sure what it's a hybrid with, but it's got some spines that pop out on its back, which is pretty cool. On the next level, I've got more old Jurassic World figurines of all different varieties. I've got a little Mosasaurus figure right here. I've got some Spinosaurus figures. I've got a Dilophosaurus. Over here are a few Ankylosaurus figures. This one actually has a removable shell that you can take off its back. And then I've got a variety of T-Rexes, Triceratops, and even a Ceratosaurus in the back right over there. My favorite one on this shelf is probably this hybrid T-Rex Dilophosaurus figure. It's bright orange and it's got some gold on it as well. And on the final level of this shelf, I've got more giant herbivore figures from Jurassic World. I've got a huge variety of Stegosaurus figures. I've got a brown, blue, green, and a dark gray blue one. I think that's an Iguanodon. I've got a Kentrosaurus. Got a few Parasaurolophuses. I've got more Ankylosauruses. I can't remember what species this one is. And I've also got some Sarcophagus figures. All right, that's it for this shelf. Now let's move over to the left here and tackle this giant shelf right here. Right at the top, I've got a huge Godzilla figure. This thing was expensive, let me tell you. I've also got a super colossal Atrociraptor figure. I've got a Ceratosaurus skull and another Mosasaurus, but this figure is actually a bit older than the giant one that I showed you over to the right. Right below that, I've got a few more miniature carnivore figures. I've got Atrociraptor figures right here, and I can't remember the name of these species actually. Right next to those, I've got some Hammond collection and Amber collection, Velociraptors and Baryonyxes, and even a few more too. I've got tons of the Amber collection Velociraptors, as you can see right here. Over here on the right, I've got the Hammond collection Baryonyx, and way over here on the left, I've got I think this is the Hammond collection Parasaurolophus. It's got some pretty cool coloring on its back too. On the next level, I've got some more giant Jurassic World figures. Over here, I've got my Spinosaurus collection. I believe this one is the Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus. I've also got what I think is a custom colored Spinosaurus figure. It's got some really unique coloring. And then, of course, the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus and a basic Spinosaurus right here. I've also got some more T-Rex figures that are a continuation of the T-Rexes that I showed you earlier. Got this orange T-Rex, extreme battle damage T-Rex, sound surge. I've got some baby T-Rexes right there. Here is a custom colored T-Rex and one of the classic T-Rexes, one of my favorite that you can control by pressing a button on its tail. Next up, I've got a ton more Jurassic World carnivore figures. Starting here on the left are Ceratosaurus figures from Camp Cretaceous and more. I've got a ton of Baryonyx figures. Some of them are battle damage, some of them are extreme chompin', or the other series, there's a ton in there. I've also got quite a few Allosaurus figures of differing colors. You can see that these two are slightly tan with blue tops. I've got a dark green one right there, and I've also got this gray-yellow Allosaurus figure in the back too. Right next to those are a couple of Metriacanthosaurus figures. I've got bright red, and then a yellow and green one, and some Albertosaurus figures too. The one in the back is an extreme battle damage. You can see on its side right there. And they are both a green with some red or orange detailing. And at the bottom layer, here are some of my final super colossal figures. This is Velociraptor Blue, also with the stomach compartment. I've also got an Indominus Rex figure with some giant teeth in its mouth. Here is a custom colored Tyrannosaurus Rex super colossal figure, and this figure is actually colored pretty similarly to the figure right up there, which is pretty cool. And I've actually got another Brachiosaurus figure. That is it for this shelf. Now it's time to move on to the final shelf right here that has some of my rarest figures. So let's start at the top shelf with this giant Mecha Godzilla figure. I don't have that many Godzilla or King Kong figures on display right now, but this is one of the few ones. Right next to that is a super colossal Giganotosaurus with the classic green coloring and the giant spine right on its back. On the top shelf is also this Jeep playset, and it actually comes with a rocket on its side. It doesn't have the rockets in it right now. And I've got this classic Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus figure too. On the next shelf, like I said, are some of my rarest figures on this one and this one because they are my Jurassic Park figurines. So these are all discontinued and you can't buy them new anymore. And some of them are actually really expensive to buy used on eBay or whatever the case is. So on this shelf, I've got a variety of herbivores and carnivores like the Pachycephalosaurus. I've got a baby dinosaur. I believe this is an Allosaurus. It's actually got battle damage. Triceratops. I've got a big raptor in the back. Stegosaurus, Triceratops, Parasaurolophus, and a Utah raptor right on the edge here. On the next shelf, more of some rare figures. This is the Amargospinus. I've got the Chasmosaurus. This is a baby Triceratops. Got a few old Baryonyx figures from Jurassic Park. There's the Spinosaurus and tons more, even these raptors right there as well. And interestingly, Jurassic Park released a Dilophosaurus that did not have the frills. So this is actually one of the first Jurassic Park figurines. As you can see, it is JP02. How cool is that? I've also got a variety of figurines from the Jurassic Park toy line and this Jeep as well. There is Dr. Alan Grant right in the middle there. I've also got some Ian Malcolm figurines as well. And right next to that I've got one of the old Jurassic Park T-Rex figurines, and this has an all rubber body aside from the arms and the feet at the bottom. And on these bottom two shelves right here, I've got a variety of more dinosaur figures that are not from Jurassic World, but from toy brands like Papo. Got a variety of Tyrannosaurus Rex figures right here. Got a Therizinosaurus. I've got a few Giganotosaurus figures. This one was extremely expensive to get. And even an Indominus Rex figure right here at the end too. On this lower shelf here, I've got more of a variety. Here are a variety of Carnotaurus figures of different colors and sizes. I've also got some Endoraptor figures, which are pretty uncommon for toy brands that are not Jurassic World. There's not that many out there. I've also got a few Spinosaurus figures and some other herbivore figures right here as well. Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today I'm going to show you 100 Jurassic World dinosaur figures, so let's dig in. Let's start with this bin on the right. The very first one is a battle damaged T-Rex with the orange body and the brown top. This T-Rex is dark green in color. It's got some black detailing along its back, and it's got the button at the top of its head for chomping and roaring. This is the Yangchuanosaurus from the Dominion series. It's got the green body with brown detailing and the orange crown on the top of its head. Here we've got another T-Rex with the soft brown body and the darker brown along the top, and of course the button on the top of its head for chomping and roaring. This Dominion figure is a Siamosaurus. It's got a dark body with the red spine and the red head. Up next, we've got a T-Rex figure, but this is actually a hybrid T-Rex. You can tell because it has spines that pop out of its back by pressing this button, and the jaw opens and closes as well. Here is another T-Rex figure, but this is a gray-brown T-Rex. It's got some darker brown along the top. It's very adjustable, and you can open and close the mouth too. Way back here is a camouflage T-Rex. It's got some sound effects too. You can open and close the mouth, and you can do a chomping effect too. This is a Sarcophagus. It's got some short legs, but it's got the blue body with purple and orange detailing on the top. This super bright dinosaur is another T-Rex. It is custom colored, so it is a bright red. It's got some orange and black as well. Over here is a Scorpius Rex that I'm sure you recognize from the Jurassic World movie. It has two action buttons, one for the jaw and one for the arms. Next up, we've got a Tarbosaurus figure. This is gray and a darker gray. It's got those huge spikes along its spine, and it's got the red chin and neck too. This is a Siatsmicrorerum. It's got the orange body with the blue detailing on its back and head, and it's got some gray detailing along the back of its body. Back here is a Carcharodontosaurus with the blue body and the brown and orange detailing along its back, all the way up to around its eyes. Here is a Rajasaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It has a dark body with some lighter coloring along its neck, and it has an action button for chomping. Next up, we've got an old Indominus Rex figure. This one is smaller. It's got some battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail to chomp the mouth. Here is a super bright dinosaur. This is the Suchomimus. It's got a bright yellow body with the brown detailing along its spine, and it has two action buttons. One for the jaws, and one to swing the tail. Here is another bright dinosaur. This is a Metriacanthosaurus. It's got the bright red body with some brown detailing on its back and some orange on its head. Here's another Metriacanthus figure. This has a yellow body with some green coloring along the top, and it has the action button on its back for the jaw. This is a super cool looking Allosaurus figure. It's got the gray body with the yellow detailing all over. It's got some awesome looking red right above its eyes, and it's got an action button for the jaw. Right over here is the Majingasaurus with a green, yellow, and blue body. and you can use the tail to control the neck. Here is a Cryolophosaurus figure. This has a bright yellow body with brown detailing and orange along the top of its body. Here's another small Indominus Rex figure. This has battle damage on the side that you can't open or close, but you can still use the tail to open and close the mouth. Next up is the Irritator. This has a brown, blue, and light blue body, and you can use the tail to control the neck. I've got a Baryonyx figure here with a brown, blue, and orange coloring on its body, and it's got an action button on its back for the jaw. Next up is another Allosaurus figure. This one has a brown and blue body, and it has a slide lever action to control the jaw. This Jurassic World figure is a Baryonyx. It's got the gray, white, and blue detailing on its body, and it has the slide lever action to control the jaw too. Next up, I've got the Jurassic World Hammond Collection Parasaurolophus. This figure is a light tan color. It's got some bright orange running all the way down its back, and of course, it's got the iconic horn at the top of its head. Here is another Hammond Collection figure. This is the Baryonyx. It is super adjustable and posable, and it's got some pretty cool detailing all along its body. This is a basic Spinosaurus figure. It's got the dark green body with some white detailing, and of course the red along its spine and all around its eyes. Here is the Ceratosaurus figure in the dark green coloring with black detailing on the top and the slide lever action to control the jaw. Here is another Ceratosaurus figure, but this one is in the brown and orange coloring, and it's got a button at the top of its back to control the jaw. Next up, we've got the Extreme Chompin' Carnotaurus. This is a little figure, but it has a huge head, and it has a button to control the eyes, and a button for chomping too. This figure is from the Amber Collection. I believe this one is Velociraptor Tiger. As you can tell, it's got the stripes all over its body with the orange, making it a pretty bright dinosaur. I've got a few Dimetrodon figures in here too. This first one is a light blue with a red spine. I've also got this green Dimetrodon with an even brighter red spine. Here is a small Carnotaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. Next up, I've got a few Monolophosaurus figures. This first one is a soft green color with darker detailing, and this other figure is a brown Monolophosaurus with gray detailing on its body. Here is a baby Brachiosaurus in the light green color. Got a couple horned small dinosaurs here. This first one is the Zuniceratops. It's got some bright coloring on the side of its body, and this one is the battle damaged Triceratops. I've got a few small Dilophosaurus figures in here as well. This first one is brown, blue, and white, especially on the front. And this other one is a soft green, and it's got some orange, red, and yellow on its body. This is the battle damaged Coelurus figure. You can see that you can press this button on its back to activate the battle damage on the side. Let's see what else I got. I've got another Monolophosaurus figure. This one is a bright green color. It's got some red on the front. And this is a Herrerasaurus. It is a gray-blue color with the white detailing along the top of its body. Of course, I've got a few Velociraptor figures in here in this first bin. This first one is a green color. It has a button on its back to activate the arms. And this second Velociraptor figure has its legs spring-loaded, so you can actually launch it into the air. And the last one's in this first bin. We still have one more bin to go. I've got a handful of herbivore figures. This first figure is a Minmi in the green coloring. I've also got a Sauropelta in the red and gray coloring with the huge spikes. Here is Ankylosaurus Bumpy from Camp Cretaceous. And can you guess the name of this herbivore dinosaur? Let me know down in the comments below. Now it's time for this second bin that will complete my 100 Jurassic World dinosaur figure haul. And I've actually got some brand new ones that we're gonna open up before we get into the bin. This first one is the Proceratosaurus figure. Alright, so this figure is mostly red. It's got some yellow detailing along the top of its back and neck. And it's got some lime green eyes too. It's pretty cool. Next up is the Jurassic World Velociraptor figure. This Velociraptor is orange in color. It's got some brown detailing along the top, and it's got those bright yellow eyes. Next up is the Jurassic World Atrociraptor figure. This Atrociraptor figure is the white and brown one that I'm sure you recognize from the movie, and it's got those evil-looking red eyes. And next up, we've got the Jurassic World Pyroraptor. I'm sure you recognize this figure from the Jurassic World Dominion movie as well. It's got a black and red body, and it's got those yellow-orange eyes too. Here we've got the small sound surge Giganotosaurus. It still has the green coloring with the black detailing along the top, and it comes with some sound effects. Here is another Giganotosaurus figure, but a whole lot larger. Still has the same coloring with a bit more detail with the black, I think. And it's got two actions. The first is for swinging the torso back and forth. And the second is for the jaws. This is a Spinosaurus figure that is dark green in color, just like the one we saw earlier, and it has the red detailing along its spine and all over its head too. Next up, we've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It is tan in color and it has a button on its back to activate the jaw. Here we've got another Carcharodontosaurus figure. We saw one earlier that had totally different coloring. This one is tan in color and it's got brown and orange detailing all along its back up to its head. This is a giant Indominus Rex figure with extreme battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off by pressing a button. I've got another Indominus Rex figure here. This one does not have the battle damage on the side, but instead the button activates the claws for slashing. Here's one of my coolest Spinosaurus figures. It has the most intricate detailing and coloring out of all of my Spinosaurus figures. It's got some blue on the spine, its eyes are a bright green color, and of course it's got the button at the top of its head for opening and closing the jaw. Here's another Sarcophagus figure. This one is green on the sides and belly and clay red along the top. Next up is an Allosaurus figure. This one is dark green with white and red detailing along its back and neck. And it's got the slide lever action to activate the jaw and sound effects. This is the Endoraptor. This figure actually has two actions. The first is on its tail. When you press that, it swings its arms shut. It's also got a button on the bottom of its tail to activate the jaw. And you can use the tail to swing the torso around too. This is a Megaraptor figure from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's got some huge claws in the front and it's got a red and blue body. Down here we've got a Stegosaurus figure that is gray-blue and it has some darker detailing along the top. And it has an action button to activate the tail for swinging back and forth. Here is another Scorpius Rex figure, but this is the basic edition, so you can't open and close the jaw, but you can still move the arms, the legs, and the tail. Back here is the Ankylosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a bright clay red body with the brown detailing on top, and you can use the tail to control the neck and the jaws too. I believe this dinosaur is called an Amargosaurus. It's got the brown body with black detailing and the red all along its neck down to its tail too. And it's got two action buttons, one to activate the neck and one to activate the tail. This is a big Velociraptor blue figure. You can see the iconic blue all the way down its back and of course the yellow eyes too. Here we've got another Allosaurus figure. This one is tan, dark blue, and bright blue, and it has two action buttons, one for the jaw and one for the arms. Here is a large Dilophosaurus figure. It has a battle damage button on the side, and it's got some super bright colors all over. It's got green, yellow, orange, and it's got some brown detailing all along its body too. If I remember correctly, this is an Iguanodon figure. It's got some detailing of tan and darker brown along the top, and it has an action button that moves its head up and down. This is a hybrid Triceratops Stegosaurus. It's got some battle damage on the side, and its entire body is super bright. It's got blue, it's got dark blue, and it's got a bunch of gold all over its body too. This is a Suchomimus in the dark blue color with the yellow detailing along its spine, and it's got one action button to activate the jaw. I've got another large Velociraptor figure in here. This one is the orange color, and this actually might be the same one that I opened up earlier on. It's got the brown detailing on the top and the yellow eyes too. This figure, I believe, is the Proceratosaurus. It's got a tan body with gray detailing and the red nose and orange eyes. Here we've got another Stegosaurus figure. This one is in a light blue-green color. It's got darker detailing along the top, and of course it's got the action button for swinging the tail back and forth. This is a Triceratops figure. It's got the clay red coloring with the brown detailing, and it's got an action button on its back to move the head up and down. This is a small Spinosaurus figure, and it is super brightly colored with the blue and red along its spine. It's also got some battle damage, and you can use the tail to move the head around too. I've got two small T-Rex figures in here. This first one though is actually a hybrid T-Rex, a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus, and it's got this super bright orange and gold all over its body. And this second smaller T-Rex figure is green with the battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to control the mouth just like the other one. Our second to last dinosaur is a hybrid Stegosaurus Triceratops. This one is brown in color, it's got some yellow detailing on its legs, and it's got the battle damage on the side. And our final dinosaur of the 100 Jurassic World dinosaur figures is the Nasutoceratops. With the dark blue body, it's got the green legs and the red detailing along the top. Welcome back! Today we're checking out my collection of Jurassic World Dominion figures, including these brand new ones that I'm gonna open up in this video. First up is the Roar Strikers Iguanodon. So here is the unboxed Iguanodon. I think this might be the first Iguanodon in my collection actually. It's got a light tan body with the dark brown on top and the tan striping. It's got the barcode scanner right along the top. And you can move its front legs around and its back legs. Plus, there is an action button that when you press down on the body, it roars and dips its head down too. Next up, we've got the Mega Raptor from the Roar Strikers series. As you already know, the Mega Raptor is related to the Velociraptor, but it's got some differences. This figure has feathers all over its body. You can see some on its arms, on the top of its back, on the top of its head, and at the end of the tail as well. This figure is bright red in the back and a dark blue-gray in the front. Plus, it has some detailing on the face as well. And this figure comes with an action that when you press down on the body, it chomps and roars. Next up, we've got a dual pack. This is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex and Giganotosaurus set. All right, here they are. Let's check out the Giganotosaurus first. This Giganotosaurus has the typical dark green and black coloring, typical for the Jurassic World figures. And it's pretty adjustable. You can move the tail, you can move the arms and the legs. So it is pretty adjustable. I will note that the mouth is actually not colored at all. So it is just green, just like the rest of the body. But the coolest feature of these figures are the roaring sound effects. Let's check that out. That is pretty cool. I bet that roar is from the movie. Now let's check out the Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure has the tan brown coloring with the black detailing that we see in many of the T-Rex figures. You can open and close the mouth, But as you notice, the mouth is not colored differently than the rest of the face. And you can move the arms and the legs and the tail just like the Dinosaurus. So now let's check out the T-Rex sound effects that this comes with. I really like how this comes in a 2-pack too. And they're both the same size, smaller than most of the T-Rex figures, but still a good size. Next up, we've got a super colossal Atrociraptor. This figure has the light gray body with the brown and lighter brown detailing on its back and sides. It's got some huge claws on its hand, just like the super colossal Velociraptor figures. And on its face, it has a full set of teeth all the way around. It's got those orange eyes. And just like all the other super colossal figures, you can feed it miniature dinosaurs and empty it out in its stomach. Next up of these super colossal figures is the T-Rex. This figure is dark brown on the sides, black on the top, and has the light underbelly like many dinosaurs. It is fully adjustable like the other super colossal figures. It's got the yellow eyes and a huge set of teeth. And of course, this super colossal T-Rex can eat miniature dinosaurs as well that you can empty out in the stomach compartment. And finally, of the super colossal figures is the Giganotosaurus. Just like we saw in the smaller Giganotosaurus, it has the dark green sides. However, this one has more detailing along the top. I think it has some bigger spines and it has a light underbelly too. You can move the wrists, you can move the arms, the legs, the tail, and of course you can open up the Giganotosaurus's mouth really wide to eat those miniature dinosaurs too. And this figure actually has some bright golden eyes, which I think is really cool. Next up, we've got the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure is the most adjustable Tyrannosaurus Rex that I have. You can twist the torso around, you can move all the joints in its arms, in its legs. It actually has 2 joints in its tail as well, which is pretty cool. And it has tons of detail on its face too. It's got some super realistic details in its mouth, like the tongue and the flap on the side. It's got these dark yellow teeth, and it's got those marble yellow eyes too. Here we've got the Thrash and Devour T-Rex. This T-Rex, just like the super colossal figure, is dark brown on the sides. It has the black on the top and the light underbelly too. I will note that this figure's head is proportionally larger than the rest of its body compared to the other T-Rex figures that I have, which is an interesting detail. And it has the tail that controls the head and a button for roaring too. This is the Ocean Protector Mosasaurus. Unlike the older Mosasaurus figure, this has a dark blue body with white speckles all over its top. It's got the light blue eyes, the huge jaw, and you can adjust the fins and actually move the tail in this one. Next up is the sound-slashing Therizinosaurus. This dinosaur was one of the stars of the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. And this figure is actually pretty controllable too. You can use the tail to swing the head around and the torso, and there's a button on the tail for the chomping as well. And you know, I think this might be my favorite dinosaur from the new Jurassic World movie. Comment down below what your favorite dinosaur was from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Roar Strikers Ankylosaurus. It has the clay red bottom and the brown and tan top. This figure is pretty adjustable as well. You can twist its head around, you can move its legs, and it has an action button that when you press down on the body, it swings its tail around. This big figure is the Yangchuanosaurus. It has a soft green colored body with the lighter underbelly and the brown detailing along the top, plus this orange detail right on the top of its head. You can move the arms on this figure and the legs, and the tail actually controls the torso and the head, so you can move it and make it look really lifelike. This is the Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor, and this figure has 2 features. First is when you press this button on the top, you get some sound effects, and the second is when you touch its chin, it'll actually walk around. Next up, we have a mysterious dino cage, but what could be inside of it? Let's see. All right, it's an Atrociraptor, and you can actually control it from the back too. This figure is a light gray color with the brown detailing over its body, and is pretty adjustable too. You can move all the different limbs, you can open and close the jaw, and even twist the neck around. Next up is the Rajasaurus with the brown coloring on its side and bottom, and it's got the gray-blue coloring right along the top of its back, as well as that single horn right on the top of its head. Plus, this figure comes with an action that when you press down on its body, it chomps and roars. This next one is the massive action Ankylosaurus. Just like the Carnotaurus, it has the clay red body with the brown detailing along the top, and it's got this super long neck that you can actually control by moving the tail around. Here we've got the Rowdy Roars Dilophosaurus. It's got the iconic frills on the sides and the top, and just like the other Rowdy Roars figure that I have, it has two action buttons. First is when you press the button on top of its head, and the second is when you touch its chin. It can walk around. Next up is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx. This figure is super adjustable in all its limbs. It has some pretty cool coloring, pretty similar to the other Baryonyx figures, especially with that blue detailing right underneath its eye. So this figure is super easy to pose on the shelf. I really like that. This is the Pachycephalosaurus, actually from the Legacy Collection. It's got the gray body with a little bit of brown detailing on the bottom and a bunch of blue along the top. It's got the DNA barcode scanner right along its shoulder, and you can use the tail for the headbutting action. This is the Carnotaurus from the Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's got the green body with the orange detailing along the top, and it's pretty adjustable too. You can move its neck, open its jaw, you can move its legs and arms, and even twist the tail too. Here is the huge winged dinosaur that I'm sure you recognize from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Quetzalcoatlus. It's got the soft blue-gray coloring along its body, it's got the brown wings, and it's got some bright coloring right along its head. It's got some orange and some bright blue too. Looks like we've got some battle damage figures from the Jurassic World Dominion collection. This first one is the Velociraptor with extreme battle damage, right there on the side. You can press it to turn it on and off. I've also got actually two of the extreme battle damage Coeluruses. These figures are pretty adjustable as well. You can put them in all sorts of poses and even open and close their jaws. And I've got the Dimetrodon with extreme battle damage right on its side. Next up, I've got the Moros Intrepidus from the Ferocious pack. This figure has a soft green color along most of its body. It's got the orange along its tail and a little bit of detailing along its back, and some detailing right along its eyes too. This is the Ferocious pack Miragaia. This figure has a darker color scheme with the dark gray-blue color in the back and the black in the front with some brighter detailing right along its face. And the most iconic part are these two huge horns right next to its shoulders. This is the Cosmoceratops from the Legacy Collection. It has a dark green color along most of its body with a bit brighter green along the top. It's got some cool detailing along its face, and it has an action button for roaring. This is a Dilophosaurus. Now you can't open and close its jaws, but it's got the bright frills right in the front as usual, and a green body on the bottom and black on the top. Here we've got another Atrociraptor. This one is in the sneaking or stalking pose. It's got the light tan body with a bit of dark brown detailing along it, and you can even open and close the jaw on this one. This is the Zungaripterus. This is a flying dinosaur, and it's got the bright yellow wings and belly and brown top and face as well. And it's got some bright blue and red detailing right along its face. And finally, we've got a little Velociraptor Beta. This figure looks a lot like Blue. It's got the same distinctive coloring, but this is actually a younger Velociraptor, just like in the movie. I'm gonna show you this huge collection of Jurassic World figures that I took down from my display shelves. I bet there's around 100 figures in here. Plus, I've even got some brand new ones from the Amber collection, the Hammond collection, and from the new Jurassic World Dominion series that we're gonna open up. So let's get started. First up is the Strike and Roar Dinosaurs. This figure is dark green in color, like many of the Dinosaurs figures that I have. It's got the huge spines in the back all the way up to its head, and it's pretty adjustable. You can move the legs around, you can adjust the arms, and the biggest feature of this figure is the button on its back that you use to swing its head around. Look at that chomping action. Plus, there is a button at the bottom of its tail as well for chomping the mouth. Next up, we've got the Amber Collection Velociraptor from the Lost World Jurassic Park. Alright, here's the figure. This is a bright orange Velociraptor with a tan underbelly. It's got those dark brown stripes along the top, all the way to the top of the head. Looks like its eyes are like a dark gold color. And like all of the Amber Collection figures, this figure is very adjustable with all of its limbs and is very poseable. Plus, this figure comes with a stand that you can use to display your brand new Velociraptor. Next up is the Hammond Collection Parasaurolophus. So this figure is predominantly a light tan color. It's got some dark purple brown coloring along the legs and along the back, and most importantly, that bright orange stripe all the way from its head down to its tail. And overall, I'd say the detailing and paint on this is pretty decent. It's not the most detail that I've seen, but I definitely appreciate that you can move all the limbs around. You can bend at the knees, you can move the arms, you can adjust the neck and the head as well. So it is a very adjustable figure. And finally, we've got the Jurassic World Dominion, Dr. Alan Grant and Dimetrodon set. So here is Dr. Alan Grant holding a Dimetrodon skull. That thing is humongous. And here is the Dimetrodon figure. Its body is a gray-green color, and it's got the iconic super huge spine along its back that's orange. Right along its spine, you can find the DNA barcode scanner, and you can adjust the legs, the tail, the neck, and the jaw as well. Let's dive into our first bin of Jurassic World figures. This T-Rex has a tearing action. When you press this button on its back, it swings its head around and clamps its jaw shut. Plus, it's got another button on its back to swing the tail around too. Next up, we've got a bright orange T-Rex with battle damage all over its body. It's got some on its chin, on its neck, on its thigh, on its stomach, and it's got a button at the top of its head for the chomping action. Here is another bright orange T-Rex, but this one does not have any battle damage at all, and it also has the button on the top of its head for chomping. Here we've got a smaller T-Rex figure. I believe this is the Sound Surge T-Rex. It's got this button on its back that you can use to activate the sound effects. This, I believe, is the Jurassic World Dominion Thrash and Devour T-Rex. It's got the black top, brown sides, and the lighter underbelly, and you can use the tail to control the face. Got two more T-Rexes left in this haul. This is a dark green T-Rex. It's got the button on the top of its head for chomping, and the rest of its body is adjustable too. And way back here, we've got the T-Rex with the extreme battle damage. Check that out, you can turn it on and off. Next up are the Indominus Rexes. This first Indominus Rex figure is larger than a lot of the T-Rex figures I have, and it has two actions. The first is on the front of its back, that's used for claw slashing, and the second is on its tail, used for the jaws. This second Indominus Rex is the Extreme Battle Damage Edition. You can see its battle damage on this side and on the other side, and you can turn it on and off using the button on the top of its back. Next up are the Scorpius Rexes. This is a basic figure of the Scorpius Rex, so you can move its arms and legs somewhat, and its tail is slightly adjustable. And this figure, interestingly, is very narrow. And here is the better version of the Scorpius Rex figure. This figure is very adjustable, and it has two actions. The first is for roaring and chomping, and the second action button is for slashing the claws. Here we've got a ton of Ceratosaurus figures. This first one has a gray, red, and brown body with the white horn. This next one has a tan body with red and black and a yellow horn. I've also got a dark green Ceratosaurus with a slide lever action. A brown and orange Ceratosaurus with an action button on its back for chomping and roaring. And another gray, red, and black Ceratosaurus with a slide action lever on its back. Next up, I've got a few Carcharodontosaurus figures. This first one is a bright red Carcharodontosaurus with the yellow on the top of its head and some darker detailing on its back. And the second Carcharodontosaurus is yellow and green in color, and it has the same chomping action button as the first one. Here is a pretty scary looking predator. This is a Tarbosaurus. It is gray, black, and red right underneath its chin, and it's got these huge spikes right along its spine. Next, I've got two Albertosauruses. The first one has battle damage on its side that you can open up and close, and a little bit of battle damage right on its leg. And the second Albertosaurus is a bit brighter in color. It has a bright orange along the side, and it has an action button on its tail for chomping. Next up, this first Carcharodontosaurus is dark blue, and it's got some orange and brown detailing, and it has an action button for chomping. This second Carcharodontosaurus is tan in color, and it has some orange and brown detailing, and it actually has a face cage that you can use the action button to break free from. This dinosaur figure, if I remember correctly, is the Yangchuanosaurus. This figure has an action that when you move the tail, it swings its torso around, plus a button to activate the jaw. Here, I've got a few Suchomimus figures. This first one is bright yellow with brown detailing along the top, and two action buttons, one to activate the face and jaw, and a second to activate the tail. This second Suchomimus is dark blue in color with yellow detailing along the top and the spine, and has one action button to activate the jaw. Next, we've got some Endoraptor figures. This first one is a basic figure, so you can only move the arms, legs, and tail a little bit, and you can't activate the jaw at all. But it still has some pretty awesome coloring and details with the spikes. And this second Endoraptor figure is extremely adjustable. You can move the arms, the legs, the elbows, the knees. The tail has two joints that you can turn, and you can open and close the jaw too. I've also got quite a few Allosaurus figures in here too. This first one is gray and yellow in coloring, and it has an action button on its back to activate the jaw. This next Allosaurus is tan and blue with actually two tones of blue on its body, and it has two action buttons, one to activate the jaw and one to activate the arms. Here are two more Allosaurus figures. This first one is dark green, white, and red in color, and has a slide action button to activate the jaw and roaring sound effects. And this Allosaurus is brown and blue in color and has the slide action lever to activate the jaw and sound effects. And the last dinosaur of this first bin is the Irritator. It has a brown body with blue and light blue coloring, and you can use the tail to control the face. On to the second bin. This first dinosaur is the Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus with the dark green body and the red spine. This next figure, I believe, is the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus with the same body but with a light tan color and darker brown along the top right next to the red spine. I've also got quite a few Carnotaurus figures in here as well. This one is a dark brown Carnotaurus and has an action button on its tail for chomping. This next Carnotaurus figure is a bit smaller, but it's from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's dark green in color with the orange detailing right along the top. This next Carnotaurus is bright orange in color with a darker top and also has the action button on its tail for chomping. And this final Carnotaurus is a bit smaller and darker red in color and has an action button on the top of its back for chomping. This next figure is a Seats Microrum. It's got the bright orange and the dark blue coloring and all these spikes right along the top of its head and its back too. And over here I've got quite a few Baryonyx figures. This first one is dark gray and blue with bright blue right along the top. This next figure is dark brown and dark gray with the bright orange right along its nose. And these other Baryonyx figures have all sorts of colors as well. This one is bright green with brown detailing. This next one has actually a little bit of battle damage on its side, right on its neck and on its leg. And this final Baryonyx is gray and a dark blue-gray in color with the reflective blue right along the top of its head. I've also got a few Cryolophosaurus figures as well. This first one is dark blue with white, red, and orange detailing, and has an action button that you can use to control the head. And this second Cryolophosaurus figure is bright yellow with brown detailing along the top and the orange right along the top of the head. Right here are a few basic Dilophosaurus figures. This first one is a soft green color all over its body, and it has the red coloring right along its frills and the crown. And this second Dilophosaurus is a dark red color, and it has the green and orange coloring right along its frills, and the yellow on the crown too. Next up is the Rajasaurus from the Jurassic World Dominion collection. This dinosaur has an action that when you press down on the body, it chomps. Next up, I believe this is the Majungasaurus. It's got a dark green body with yellow and blue as well. And here is one of the stars of the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Giganotosaurus, and it comes with sound effects too. Here are a few Ankylosaurus from the original Jurassic World movie. This first one is brown and tan in color, has a little bit of battle damage on the side. This one right here is a special edition because it has a removable protective shell on top of its spikes, as well as on the back of its tail right here, and is a gray color, but it also has some reflective green and blue coloring all throughout. Next up, we've got a basic raptor figure. This is Velociraptor Blue, and this figure is fairly adjustable. You can move the arms, the legs, and tail just a little bit. This is an interesting looking dinosaur. This is a Concavinator. It's got some super bright coloring along its back and on its face too. This figure, I believe, is an Ankylosaurus. This dinosaur has the super long neck and all these spikes right along its back, and it has an action button to control the head. We've also got a few Triceratops figures back here. This first one is a clay red color with brown detailing right along the top. And this second one is a dark brown color with two tones of blue right along the top. Next up, we've got a Megaraptor from the Jurassic World Dominion series. This figure has a chomping action that you can activate by pressing down on its body. This dinosaur figure is the Nasutoceratops. It's got the blue, red, and green body with the lighter underbelly and an action button to activate the head and the tail. This huge figure is the Pentaceratops. It's got a tan body with gray detailing along the top and an action button to break free from its face cage. Looks like we have a few more Indominus Rex figures back here. This first one is the larger of the two. It has battle damage right on the side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail to activate the jaw. And this second Indominus Rex figure is a bit smaller. It has permanent battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to activate the jaw and the neck. This, I believe, is a Sinoceratops. It's got the green body with the tan detailing all over. It's got a little bit of orange on the top of its head, too. And I've got a few Stegosaurus figures in here as well. This one is a teal blue color with a lighter underbelly and has an action button to swing the tail back and forth. This next Stegosaurus figure is a darker blue-gray color and is very much similar and has the same action button to swing the tail around. And this final Stegosaurus is brown, tan, and green in color and actually has a different action button that when you press right here, it swings its entire back body back and forth. That's different than the other two figures that I have. This next figure, I believe, is a Kentrosaurus. It has a brown body and a slide lever action to activate the swinging back and forth with those two front spikes. Over here, we've got a few more Ankylosauruses from Jurassic World. This first one has a clay red body with the brown on top and the tan spikes. And this second one has a dark brown belly with the gray spikes and the green and gray all over the top. I've also got a few more Velociraptors from the Amber collection. Here is the bright green one with gray detailing and the gray underbelly. Here is the brown Velociraptor with the light underbelly and the gray detailing along the top. We've also got this gray Velociraptor, I believe is Velociraptor Blue. And I've also got this bright teal Velociraptor with the lighter underbelly. This figure is another Parasaurolophus. It's got the yellow body with the bright pink or purple coloring right along the top. Here is an Iguanodon that I bought just recently. It has a tan body with a darker brown top and the striping, and has a head swinging action when you press down on the body. This is the Baryonyx from the Hammond collection, and is very adjustable with all the limbs in its body. I've also got a few Atrociraptors in here. This first one is tan and in the sneaking pose, and this second one is the classic gray color with the brown striping. Next, I've got the Miragaia with the huge spikes on its side, and I believe this is the Shringosaurus with a much smaller spikes right on its shoulders. I've also got tons of Velociraptors in here. This first one is bright red and green and is actually one of the jumping Velociraptors. This other Velociraptor is one of the normal ones, but is gray in color and has the dark blue coloring right along the top. I've got even more Velociraptors. This first one has the extreme battle damage on the side. This next Velociraptor is another one of the jumping Velociraptors and is a bright teal color. And this Velociraptor is dark red with a purple stripe right down the sides. And here's even some more Velociraptor figures. This first one is Velociraptor Blue in the Springing series. Here is another Velociraptor Blue figure, but this one is the Battle Damage edition that you can open and close. Here is a classic brown Velociraptor with the bright green eyes. And here is Velociraptor Beta, a much smaller and younger Velociraptor. Here are a couple Dimetrodon figures. This first one is a gray-blue color along its body with a bright red and yellow speckled spine. This other figure is actually a Battle Damage edition that you can turn on and off. It has the green body with the bright red spine. This brightly colored figure is the Moros Intrepidus, and it's got the teal body with the bright orange tail. I've also got a few Herrerasaurus figures in here as well. First one is a gray-blue color with a lighter detailing along the top. And this second one actually has battle damage on the side, and the rest of its body is green with brown detailing along the top. Next up, I've got a few Monolophosaurus figures in here. This first one is a darker brown color with gray detailing, and this other Monolophosaurus is a bright lime green with darker green detailing right along its back, and the red right next to its nose. Here we've got some herbivore figures. This is the Dracorex in the lime green color. This next herbivore is a Stygimoloch, I believe. It's got the huge spikes right next to its hard head, and the rest of its body is a clay red color with some darker detailing. And this figure is a Pachycephalosaurus. It's got the green on the belly and the clay red on top, and an action button for the head hammering. Here are a few more Dilophosaurus figures, but a lot smaller. This first one is brown and blue with some white in the frill. This next one is a deep purple color with red on the back and yellow and red right along the frills. And this final Dilophosaurus is green on the belly, black on the back, and it's got some red and yellow in the frills. We've got a few more herbivores in here. Here is a Battle Damage Edition Triceratops with the battle damage right along the side. We've also got a Minmi figure that is green in color, and it's got the spikes all along its back. And I believe that this one is a Cosmoceratops and is very decorative in the front. Next up, we've got a Protoceratops that is purple in color, and it's got the yellow detailing along the top. This figure I think might be an Iguanodon, but I'm actually not sure, but it is dark blue along the sides and the bottom, and it's got the orange-yellow detailing along the top. And this figure is another Parasaurolophus. This is a light brown color on the belly and the sides, and it's got the darker detailing along its back. And here are our last 3 dinosaurs out of these 2 huge bins. We've first got a baby Brachiosaurus that is light green on the sides and a darker green along the top. Here is a Sauropelta with the huge spikes on the top. And finally, the good old Zunoceratops with the 2 spikes in the front and the dark blue along the top and its back, and the rest of its body is a light green color.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.